Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay Will. So often the question that I get is, what phone would you recommend? Or what phone do you have, or you currently using? Well, you gotta understand that I'm a reviewer, so I have a ton of phones. But I do have recommendations for people. So people frequently ask, what phone would you get? What phone would you buy? What phone do you recommend? And that depends on what carrier you're on. There's a lot that goes into picking a phone, and it goes down to personal preference mainly. Because if you're used to a certain operating system, you're probably going to pick that operating system and go with a phone on your carrier that has that operating system. It's just way too much that goes into picking a phone or telling you, the viewer, what's the best choice. But I can give some recommendations. So I'm going to start with carriers. Now there are the top 4 carriers, maybe 5, that people mainly know of. U.S. Cellular, I think is one, and Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T. But there are carriers out there like Cricket, Boost Mobile, Metro, and Virgin. So I'm going to tell you my picks for those carriers, and this is my recommendations if you have any one of those carriers. Now I'm just going to go down the list here. A pretty lengthy video, so if you like discussion videos, this is the one for you. So let's start with Virgin Mobile. Virgin Mobile is a company. I've actually purchased a phone from them. My youngest daughter's first smartphone was on Virgin Mobile because it was so affordable, and the plans were, really affordable back then. So, what phone would I recommend on the Virgin Mobile? If you're on Virgin Mobile and you want to grab a phone, I'm going to give you my honest recommendations here. I would tell you, I'm not going to go through whether it's Android or iOS or anything like that, or Windows Phone. I'm just going to tell you the phones. If I was on one of these carriers, this is the one that I would pick up, especially with the prepaids, because with the prepaids, you're paying full cost, so you're not stuck, but you don't want to keep paying so much money for these phones. So let's start with Virgin Mobile. I would say on Virgin Mobile, I would definitely get the iPhone 7 Plus, probably 128 gig, black or silver. That would just be my personal color, but the device itself will be the iPhone 7 Plus, definitely at least a 128 gig, especially if you're going to have that phone and you're not a person who switch. Normally people on those carriers, those prepaid carriers, they don't switch phones heavily. They don't switch a lot. So Virgin Mobile, their network is it's all right. But that is the phone that I would choose if I was on Virgin, and I was just going to keep the phone until it broke, or something happened. It would be the iPhone 7 Plus. For me, it would be black or silver, and I would probably just go middle ground with the 128. And you keep in mind, on the prepaid carriers, the price is normally like $100 less in a lot of cases. So switching gears to Boost Mobile. Boost had a phone on here that I really thought was cool. If I was going to keep this phone, I think on Boost, they have the iPhone 7 Plus 32 gig for $669, which is $100 off. But again, it's personal preference. If I was on Boost, because I've used Boost, I've actually had Boost network before, and I would definitely go on Boost. It would be the iPhone 7 Plus, or I would take the Galaxy S7 over that one on Boost. I know they both run the Sprint's network, but the Galaxy S7 is a nice item, and it's $599. So that's a really good purchase on Boost. $599 for the Galaxy S7. You can keep that. There's a lot of perks with that device. I really like the Galaxy S7. So let's go to Sprint, and I wanted to run through these because that's like one of the main questions that I get. What phone would you get? Let's go to Cricket first. Let's go to Cricket and Metro. And I have several different carriers here. Let's see here. Let's shop their smartphones, and I'm going to pick one and tell you which one. If I was going to keep this phone and just until it went dry, I just couldn't have anything else. The phone that I would probably take is the Idol 4 or the Idol 3. Preferably the Idol 4. I would go with that phone if I was on Cricket. It's very affordable. It's nice. They have the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus over there as well, but there's no discounts on the Cricket one. You're just paying the cost of the phone, what it costs. So I would definitely go with the Idol 4 and take that free VR headset, or the Idol 3, whichever you want. It's 99 with activation for the Idol 4, and then the Idol 3 is 49. So, and you could keep those because that multimedia experience on there is going to be fantastic, man. I would definitely do that. Now, Metro PCS is an easy one. I really don't even have to look at this one, but I pulled it up anyway. I would definitely go with the ZTE ZMAXPRO on Metro. For sure, hands down. Get the ZTE ZMAXPRO on Metro. I think you keep that phone for, I don't know, a long time to come. Now, when you get to, because you're paying full cost on the prepaids. Now, when you get to something like the carriers where they say they don't have contracts, but they actually do have contracts, and you're just paying monthly for the devices, that would be a little bit more difficult because there's a lot more to choose from. So if you're going to go onto T-Mobile, there's a whole bunch to choose from. And with carriers like that, you can also bring in devices. I would start with their certified pre-owned devices first, because they have Galaxy S6s over there and Galaxy S7 Edges, Notes. They have everything over there pre-owned. Like they have the S6 for $379, which is still a good buy. The Edge is $349, which is still a good buy. But if you wanted a brand new phone, there's so many deals. Like T-Mobile, they have the G5 for $299 if you do their T-Mobile One plan. So that's a good buy. $299 for a G5 is a fantastic price. I would say you could either grab the V20. Now this is getting to a person who, now this is going to be, I guess this is going to be across the board, because the carriers, all the postpaid carriers, they have the same phones pretty much. So if you're on Sprint, T-Mobile, or Verizon or AT&T, pretty much they all have the same phones, except for Verizon, AT&T. They have a lot of exclusive deals. I would say if you're on Sprint or T-Mobile, you should probably choose the V20, the S7 Edge, or the 7 Plus if you're going to keep this phone for a long time. That's if you want to, get a phone that's kind of up in price, or you feel, it'll be a premium phone. But if you're into a situation where you don't want to spend a lot of money and you're going to keep your phone for a long time, I would just scroll on down to like the J7, or the newly launched on T-Mobile, which has already been out for a while, the ZMAXPRO. That's just a fantastic phone to get, and I wish all the carriers had it, but they don't. But the ZMAXPRO is definitely one to be recommended because it's only $179, and I would definitely recommend a person start low price first, because some of these low price phones perform better than some of the phones that cost 8 times the cost or 4 times the cost. So that's just something to consider. I think, if you're on T-Mobile or Sprint, if you're on T-Mobile, the ZTE ZMAXPRO, Sprint doesn't have that, but the V20, the iPhone 7 Plus, the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, I would definitely recommend one of those. And I'll switch gears to unlocked devices shortly. But if you're on AT&T, now they have pretty much the same phones. You could go with an iPhone, a V20, but they have phones like the Active line from Samsung, and I would definitely recommend some of those for the battery and the ruggedness of the phone if you're on AT&T. Now, if you're on Verizon, right now, at the currently shooting of this video, this is October 29th, or I think it is. October 29, 2016. I would recommend you grab the Pixel if you're on Verizon. I think that's a great purchase for Verizon customers right now. Grab the 128 Pixel XL or the Pixel, the regular Pixel. Grab a 128 if you can. I don't know so much about the blue, but I would definitely recommend that you grab the Pixel first if you're on Verizon, just for performance purposes and longevity support. And some people call it future-proofing, but I just say the longevity of the support that you'll get from Google with that particular device. Now, if you're not into Android, obviously you can switch gears to iOS, and the iPhone 7 Plus will be my recommendation for you. But I would definitely tell you to pick up the Pixel over on Verizon if you're on Verizon and you want some serious support or longevity with your device, and you don't plan on switching around for a long time. Now, unlocked, I would definitely say grab the OnePlus 3 or the Axon 7. These phones are $400 less. You get the Idol 4S. There is just a gang of unlocked phones, but not all of them work on Verizon. So the one that I'm leaving out is the Moto line. Here's why I would recommend the Moto line over a lot of the phones I've spoken of, is because you can get a lot of their phones unlocked, and then their phones work on all carriers. The Moto G4 Plus, the Moto G4, the Moto Z line. The Moto Z Play is like top dog to me of the Moto line. The Moto Z Play is probably the best purchase I ever made from a Motorola device, and I just think that Motorola is really doing something unique here by bringing out a phone that can be on each tier. When I say each tier, I mean like $99, $49, $300, $400, on up. And their phones that peak out at $400 or $700, I would say, still perform and look better and last longer. Probably will, and we'll get software updates before some of the other devices that I've named, if that's important to you. But Motorola definitely is a unique Motorola / Lenovo. They're definitely doing it the right way. They're releasing a lot of phones, and they're releasing quality phones. The problem is those phones are not on carriers. Most of those phones are not on carriers, and you've got exclusive deals with Verizon with the phones right now, I think, and that's kind of, the exclusive deals are just a bad thing. It's not something that where the customer's winning. It's the carriers trying to win you over and get you to spend your money there. But all carriers now, pretty much, you can pay monthly for phones. But unlocked phones, I would definitely recommend the OnePlus 3, the Axon 7, the Idol 4S. Those phones, and like I said, anything in the Moto line, you're going to be set. Especially the Moto G4 Plus and the Moto G4. Those work on all carriers, so you're set. Unlocked phones. Now, BlackBerry people, if you like BlackBerry, you can't get it on Verizon. That's just, it is what it is. They're not doing BlackBerry anymore, but you can use it on other unlocked GSM carriers. So, those are some of my picks for phones that I would recommend on certain carriers. What phone are you using? What carrier are you on? What are some of your recommendations based on your experiences? This video is based on my experiences with all these carriers. Sprint being my least favorite. Their network is just not good. Pretty much anywhere I've traveled with them, they stay on 3G, and I say it's not good, but they kind of drop to 3G a lot, So, but they're a good company, but their service is not the best like the others. It's not as widespread as some of the others I've named. But those are some of my picks on phones for people always ask that question: what do you recommend? What would you get? As of October 29, 2016, these are some of my recommendations. These aren't final or anything like that. It's just how I'm feeling at the moment and what I would recommend to a person if they were sitting here in front of me and said, hey, what should I buy? Or what do you recommend? Or, that's what I think. So, again, you do have unlocked phones that cost a heck of a lot more. Like I mentioned the Pixel for Verizon users. That would be my first choice for Verizon users because it's exclusive to Verizon right now. But even unlocked phones, I would definitely recommend things like the Nexus 6P. Still, I would recommend that. But I would just recommend I recommend the Pixel for the performance. If you don't have the Pixel, you don't understand what I mean by me recommending it. In all, I would recommend that you get the Pixel and take it to any of the carriers because it works on all the carriers. So I would recommend that. I mean, the Pixel has turned out to be, to my surprise, very impressive. Now, some people might say, hey, it doesn't have waterproofing. And the thing I say about that is, all that has happened is carriers or OEMs, not carriers, have convinced you that you need that. And so with that, you start to pay a little bit more premium price on a lot of things. But you don't need a waterproof phone. Those are things that you think you need. And I'm not saying that because certain phones don't have it. I'm just saying, you don't need those things. What you need is a phone that can make phone calls, and you need a reliable network. That's what you really need if you have a cell phone, because that's what a lot of people probably buy them for. Still, I do. I do more phone calls than anything. It may seem like I'm online a lot, but I do more phone calls than anything else. I bought my cell phone to make phone calls. Because most of us don't have a home line anymore. I recently turned off my landline. I think last year I turned it off, but I just wasn't getting any use. So, having said that, you don't need a lot of the features that phones, the OEMs say that the phones have. It's more of a want. You really should be thinking about how good is the network. At least that's what I think. You think about what you want, but I think the network, what good is it to have a phone that's waterproof or drop protected and all that kind of stuff? If you drop it, it won't shatter. None of that matters if the network that you're using it on isn't good. So with that, you know, final choice will be to tell people, if you can, pay full cost for an unlocked phone and take it to any carrier that you want. Now the downside of that is there are a lot of Verizon customers, and a lot of phones don't work on Verizon's network. Now I have a developer edition of the Axon 7 and mine works on Verizon. And you know, a lot of people don't have that though, you know, so and I don't know about the regular Axon. I've heard bad things about the regular Axon not working on Verizon, but you know, I can't confirm that. Only thing I can confirm is what I have here in my house. And that's just what I recommend. Now, if you talk about price and tiering for price, you have to decide how much you're willing to spend on a device. And I can tell you, based on the studies that I've done in focus groups offline, like they're private focus groups that I'm invited to, most people, you will believe this, that most people do not want to spend more than a couple $100s for a phone. And they don't want to, they don't have the money to come out of pocket, and they don't want to. Or they have the money and they just don't. It's not priority to the average consumer. Having the best, so to speak, what we consider to be the best, that's not priority to the average consumer. I've done a lot of focus groups. Like I've been blessed to be able to do a lot of focus groups, and I never say my status in technology. I just sit there like a regular member of the group, and I contribute my thoughts. Now, I have learned though that the average consumer does not want to spend that much money on a phone. Their priority is in doing their new lawn care, building that part of their house, you know, taking care of the car. You got kids in college. They're not thinking about a cell phone at the top of the list. Techies do. Or people who just love technology so much will be a techie. If you're placing priority of a phone at the high point of your life or on a list of priorities, you know, that's your choice. It's definitely not mine. A phone is not that important. But somebody asked me which phone would I pick, and I'll answer this question. No, I'll leave it in the comments of that video. You go search for it. Somebody asked me which phone would I choose out of the V20, iPhone 7 Plus, and the Pixel XL if I had to keep it, and it could be my only choice. And I answered that in the comments of one of my videos, so go scour it out and you'll find it. But there it is, man. There's some of my recommendations on what you should choose per carrier. I just think it's a good look for carriers and for you to be able to take an unlocked phone wherever you want. That's your choice. But there you go. It's your man Jay Will. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.